Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wellness Circuit. This is our next episode of Wellness Circuit, where today I'm going to be talking to our next guest, who is Sarika Chedda. She is a technology executive working in a company here in the Bay Area, and she has been in the Bay Area for the past 15 years or so. And she's a technical program manager. That is just one part of her life, which is a professional role, but she is also a mother, a daughter, a wife, whatnot, like just like every woman out there. And she has seen a lot in life, and we are here to discuss her life with her story today. Welcome to the Wellness Circuit, Sarika.
Thank you, Shobha.
Hope you're doing well today.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little about yourself, not just about your health journey. We will come to that later. Anyway, that is what we are here for. But before we dive into that, just tell us a little about yourself so we get to know you better.
Okay, and thank you for the quick introduction.
Sure.
I'll tell a little bit about myself. I'm very family oriented, as you mentioned. Like I have a daughter, or I'm a mother. So family oriented. I love traveling. We recently went to Peru for a week. It was amazing. I went to Machu Picchu. Highly recommend people if you want to go. And not last but not the least, I'm also a feminist.
Oh, wow.
And that's one of the reasons I'm here today to speak for the women and to bring some light to possible issues that you can have that you might perceive as normal.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So you can I call you a traveler as well, or you?
Yes. I'm going to get there once my daughter goes to college. Then I might
Yes.
do every quarter. I might travel around the world. Right now, it's like once a year or twice a year. So
Okay.
getting there. You can give me that title maybe in 2 years.
Okay, sure. We will. We will definitely. We will have a separate podcast for traveling by then.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So let's go to your story. So you were only 13 from what you told me when you realized something wasn't right with you. And just take me back to when you were 13 and where exactly everything started. What was your pain like? And just fill us on that.
Yeah, I might get emotional along the way, so bear with me.
Yes, sure.
But I'll start with maybe 12ish or 11ish because that's when I heard about periods and I was very excited to get periods, to be honest. And the reason is that all of my class fellows, they had already gotten it, and I'm like, when will I get periods, right? So I was excited. But that excitement came with some disappointment because when my period started at 13, one heavy flow. It would be 7, 8 days and very heavy flow, right? Second was pain. Pain was unbearable. I could not get up from the bed for those, at least for 2 to 3 days. Then my mother saw me in pain. And you know what? Interestingly, she said, pain hota rehta hai. It's okay. It's normal. It's part of the journey, right? But let's get you checked at least for the number of days that you're menstruating, right? So she took me to a doctor. We went to a gynae, and she gave me an injection shot. She gave me that shot, and I was fine. And what she told my mother was, once she get married, she'll be fine. Just let her take paracetamol. Back in the days, we used to take that, right, for pain, and she'll be fine. But I wasn't fine, and I knew something was wrong with me because even if I took paracetamol, I would have to miss a day or two of school. And that's not a good feeling. And when I knew that other kids were fine, they were not missing school or skipping school. But again, I had to trust the doctor, right? I mean, I was just a kid, I didn't know much. And I thought, okay, it's normal, it's part of the journey, I have to live with it. Some people get lucky where they have minimal cramps, and some people are unfortunate like me where they have period pain, and which is very excruciating, but I don't have anything wrong. So that's how I lived then.
Wow. Okay. Just listening to that feels painful, I should say. Um, uh, and you mentioned saying like, oh, like your mother is saying, oh, this is how periods would be.
Yeah.
I mean, just bear the pain. This is how it is going to be. And as a child, when you are a teenager, when you are 13, you don't know much,
Yeah.
right? You're going to listen to what your parents are saying. So how did the words, whatever she told you, how did it shape you the way you viewed your pain?
I thought it's normal and I have to live with it. This is something that most of the women carry with them. until at least their childbirth. Maybe things will change, things will drastically be different. And that's how I managed. One, of course, I was in school, then college, same situation. Then I went to work, same situation. One day at office, even my family doesn't know, I almost passed out because of the pain. And they took me to the hospital, and hospital also said, no, nothing is wrong with her. She's fine. She should just take painkillers and she'll be fine. And then I lived my life. And fast forward, I got married, and that's when everything started to
Got diagnosed.
get diagnosed and unwrap.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so okay, let's go to your diagnosis. Like, so when you got married finally, what was the diagnosis? Let's talk about.
Yeah, even that's interesting because at least back in the days there were no tests to do endometriosis. Unless and until your doctor opens you up, then only they can confirm that you have endometriosis.
Okay.
Nowadays I'm hearing, and my daughter, when she's also doing some research, so she's also hearing, and we both are talking to the doctors also, that saliva test and some other blood tests are also coming up where you would know. So that was one problem, that okay, they would open up and then only I would know. So when I got married, when I came to US, and I got involved into the activity as a partner that you get involved in, right? That's when my pain after the fact would be really unbearable. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe we should go to a gynae. I told my sister-in-law, who also lives in US, and she said, you know what, you should go to the doctor. I was like, okay, sure. I scheduled an appointment, met with the doctor. They said, you know what, I feel something, so maybe we should do an ultrasound. So we did an ultrasound. In an ultrasound, they called me actually the same day they did the ultrasound, because I had 9 centimeter big cyst, and it's like size of a grapefruit.
Wow.
It could burst any time. I was carrying it the entire time, which I didn't know. And they said, we have to immediately operate you. So within 2 to 3 days, they arranged my surgery. They operated me. And once they did the surgery, then they told me after the surgery that, you know what, you have endometriosis. And I'm like, okay, what is that? Can you help me, understand what that is? And then she went over all the details. These are lesions that form. It is body's inflammatory response. And you know what, you should get pregnant soon, otherwise you won't be able to conceive, because it's bad. It was in stage 2, right now in stage 4, which is kind of the last stage. Fortunately, you know what, mortality rate is pretty low, but still it's the suffering, right?
So just for those who are watching the podcast, can you briefly explain what endometriosis is? Because I think people may not even understand. Right now, I think people are thinking you're saying pain and you're saying endometriosis. So can you briefly explain what endometriosis is and why is it painful?
Yeah, endometriosis is when your uterus is also, the lining is also bleeding at the time of periods. There are multiple theories, but I myself, I haven't found that what is the reason. One reason I found is, okay, hereditary. Second thing is estrogen dominance. So theories I don't know, but what happens when this happens, which is uterus lining also bleeds, is because it forms lesions. It's like scar inside your body. How you would feel if you have scar outside and it would bleed, right? It'll hurt you. So that's happening inside the body, and that causes the pain. And it's only not just one scar. You have multiple lesions on your uterus, and that's where they start bleeding, and they cause more pain.
Oh, okay. So I did read somewhere that the endometriosis also means the tissue, instead of just growing inside the
Yeah.
uterus, it's outside.
Exactly. That's what the lesion that it forms.
Okay,
the
so
scar,
that's the one. The scar is outside the uterus.
uterus, and that's when it's bleeding during period. So it's even worse.
Oh, sure.
But not many people know about it, that this inflammatory response or the period pain, right, that actually sensitizes or makes your nervous system also sensitive. So you are again prone to anxiety, hyperventilation. So it's not just a body symptom where you have symptoms of your mental health also get impacted. So just wanted to add that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wow, that sounds, as I said, really painful. So when you said just now that you were at stage 2 and now you're at stage 4, what does it mean?
Sure. It means is that it has gone to other organs as well. Earlier, it was very much localized to my uterus, where they had the scar tissues, and now it's on colon. Also, what happens is when other organs are tethered together, that means that the stage has progressed. I do want to caution people with one thing, which is stage 1 and stage 4, people can have different pain levels. Stage 1 pain could be as excruciating as stage 4, and stage 4 people might not even know they have endometriosis and no pain.
So it varies from person to person.
It varies from body to body, person
Yes,
to person.
yes.
It's not just the stage itself.
Stage itself. Okay, okay. Um, so yeah, you spent from what you told me, like from the age of 13 till you got diagnosed when you were like 27. So
Yeah,
that's like a
20.
14 years
Yeah.
gap
Yeah.
of being in tremendous pain, not understanding
Mhm.
what it is about, and nobody actually understanding as well. How did that affect your teenage years and your young adulthood? Because you could not do most probably certain things that
Yeah.
your friends could do. And how did you manage your school, your work, and did you have any trepidation about getting married? You know, all those things which at that age we think about.
Yeah, school, college, work, everything was hard. I would plan around it. Even now I know you were talking about back in the days before the diagnosis, but nothing has changed after diagnosis either. I still plan my days around it. I'm still on bed. I have to take time off during my periods, even now after what, 18 years. So yeah, what how it impacted me from inside is that, oh, now again I have to think about this is one of the biggest thing worries and always my head, that I have to do things around it. I was very happy that at the time of my wedding at least I did not have periods, otherwise those 3-4 days would also be wasted when you're so excited that you're getting married to the love of your life and whatnot, right? All the girly stuff that you imagine around that age. So yeah, it impacted big time. And one thing is, of course, the pain and planning around the pain. But PMS is also very bad. A lot of women who have this do not have just PMS; they have PMDD. It is dysmorphia, or I don't think I can pronounce it really well because I'm not a doctor. The symptoms get worse before 1 week before periods, and the fatigue is anyways worse throughout your lifetime, right? I'm always tired, I'm always cranky or irritable because I know that something is wrong within my body and I'm not myself 100%. So that impacts overall, day to day. It's not just around the periods.
Wow. Um, I mean, it is tough. It's basically, from what you're saying, it is a chronic
Yes, chronic
disease,
disease,
right?
yes.
And so it is somebody who is chronically ill going through that day to day. I mean, I do have some chronic disease, so I can understand where you're coming from with that pain. It is very tough because you can never move on.
Yeah.
You're all there. So going back to like when you said nobody will believe your pain, they're thinking it's just like, what was emotionally harder for you, the pain itself or the fact that people are not believing, they're not able to understand your pain?
Yeah, both getting dismissed and also the pain.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was both. Yeah.
Yeah, both was equally harder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because one is physical, one is emotional, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You getting
yeah.
dismissed for a number of years is not a good feeling, right? And you always keep thinking that is something wrong with me, something not wrong with me. You always question yourself, or you're like, sometimes you know what? Even I used to call myself, oh, maybe I'm just lazy. But now I have that a definition to that laziness, that I'm fatigued. It's a chronic illness. That's the reason what I am, how I am today.
Yeah.
So you question yourself.
Yeah.
And your identity.
Yeah. So, especially for a chronic patient, how important is to have support around you?
Oh, very, very important, because you don't want people to think that again you're being lazy, you're just finding excuses. First is they should understand that it's a problem, right? If they are not aware, if they have not read it or know about it, then that's what they will think. It's very funny actually that you asked me this question, because recently when we were going to Peru, on my phone I was just scrolling through some videos, and and I have joined a lot of Facebook groups, also endometriosis groups, right? In one of the groups, one lady said that a guy had posted, I do not want to date women with endometriosis because they come with a lot of baggage.
Oh.
So that's how bad it is, and people out there who know actually don't want to get married. So you know what? It's funny that I asked my husband, "Hey, did you actually, if you knew about my condition, would you have married?" And he jokingly said no. And then I'm like, I gave him that look, but he was of course joking because they're my biggest support. My husband does everything from pick up to drop off to food. And mostly when I'm sick, I'm like, in a month, 1 week, I'm actually sick, right? Where I'm not getting up from the bed in a month. So, which is like, what, 25% of my time. And he manages everything without complaining.
Wow, wow. And how about your daughter?
Daughter is also like him. She wouldn't bother me, and every 15 minutes she asks me, "Mama, are you doing okay? Can I do
Oh.
something for you?" And I know towards the end of the podcast we will talk about that also.
Yes.
That how that shaped her up and what she wants to do about it. But going back to the question, yes. Family support is very important, and if somebody is saying that they do not want to get married to a person who has endometriosis, don't get married to them, for sure.
Yes, yes. So, soon after your diagnosis, you learned about your fertility being affected because due to endometriosis. How did you process that news at that point? Because you were newly married. How did it affect you?
Yeah, and I'm sure you all know, right? All the viewers also know that when you get married, you have plans to, be with your partner, know each other better, and whatnot. So we had similar plans. In fact, before getting married, only we had decided that 5 years, we just want to enjoy life. We won't have kids. We won't talk about kids and all that. And that diagnosis, right? And that happened, I think, within 6 months of our wedding. So that shook both of us off. We were not ready. We were not ready to think about having a kid. But I think I processed it faster than him. My family was also very pushy. My in laws were also like, you should consider it. Otherwise, because if I had not done it then, I would not have a child, right? It was yes or no kind of a situation for me at that point. And that's the reason I'm like, okay, I'm bought into the idea. I think I want a baby. Then I had to convince him. And sooner he also got convinced. Within 2-3 months he got convinced, and now we have a miracle baby. We call her a miracle baby.
That's so wonderful. When you're diagnosed with a chronic condition like the one you had, most people go into a panic state. And most people think, oh, that's it, my life is over. My journey is over. Where do I go from here? But you have been enduring it for so long, from childhood until now. Is there any advice you would like to give them?
Yeah, speak for yourself, advocate for yourself, do your research. And there are a lot of resources, groups out there, seek their help. There will be days where doctors will say, no, you're okay, because even now I read those comments, 13-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old. They are saying they have pain, and doctor is saying, no, no, you don't have anything, right? So do your research. If you're an adolescent, talk to your parents about it, get their help. Change your doctor if they're not listening to you, right? But keep speaking for yourself.
Yeah. I think you said it very well, because especially endometriosis, from what I read, it's not something that is easily diagnosable, because since, as you said, unless you open you up,
Yeah.
it is very tough to find. The doctors also to find out, and so that is one of the reasons why they hesitate to give the diagnosis of endometriosis to someone, because it is not something that they can immediately tell someone
You're
just because
absolutely
they
right.
are in pain. So, and I think that is where advocating for yourself, speaking up matters a lot. So you need to go ahead and speak up and figure out a way to get that diagnosed if your pain is a lot.
Absolutely.
Well said. Now, if someone listening today is experiencing severe period pain, and that's where you come from, and what would you want them to hear if they are thinking, oh, is this normal or is this not normal? And is there some specific type of questions you would recommend them to ask their doctor?
First thing is listen to your body. If you're feeling the pain, and if you can say that it's 7, 8, 9 in that range from 1 to 10, it's not normal.
Okay.
Right? Anything below 5, yeah, sometimes your body can be different. Some people are more sensitive to pain versus not, but 7, 8, 9 is bad. So it's not normal. Go to the doctor. Tell them the symptoms. Ask them what else, because here, at least in US, the system is that insurance covers most of the tests, so doctors are also unwilling to suggest some. So everything is brushed under the table. So ask them, what test can we do? Are there any tests? Or you do the research and find out if there are any tests. Like for me personally, I would say get at least at minimum ferritin iron saturation tested. The reason is that if you have long periods and endometriosis, right, there's a high chance that that will be low. And that could be low hereditary, that could be low endometriosis. So at minimum, just find out about your blood work. It can tell you a story. And take it to your doctor that you want to go in depth at what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Wonderfully said. I mean, I think everybody needs that. Our podcast is the Wellness Circuit, as you know, and we talk about at least 3 wellness habits. I ask every single guest, what are some 3 wellness habits? What does wellness mean to you? And name 3 wellness habits that you think people should follow.
Sure. What wellness means to me is take care of your body, mind, and soul.
Okay.
Right? How I do it is, to be very, very honest, I was not very good about wellness. You know, when you're young, you feel that your body is gonna recover, regenerate. Now that I'm in 40s, I know that I have to take care of myself, right? So what I do, I've started doing strength training. At least for women my age, start doing that. It helps with metabolism. It helps with body strength. Overall, muscle loss, it will control that. So that's very, very important, right? So that's for the body. For the soul, or actually mind, I'll start with that. I've started doing meditation also, or belly breathing. And if you meditate, or if you believe in God or certain power, just chant. That also helps. That's very simple. 5 minutes before sleeping, close your eyes and just do that. That's for the mind. For the soul, do what you enjoy doing. I love traveling, and that's one of the things that I want to do. Spend time with your family, right? That's also, if it nourishes your soul, then do that. So I have started doing these things, and I would highly recommend people to do it.
Oh, wonderful. I all things I like. So I'm very happy to hear
Yes.
those wellness habits. Strength training and traveling. I just love traveling and meditating. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I know your daughter is also doing something to contribute to the community regarding endometriosis. Maybe we should invite her.
Yes.
We were talking to Sarika earlier. Her daughter Arya is here with us now. Arya, why don't you tell us what you are doing for endometriosis and what inspired you to do that?
Yeah. So one of the main gaps that I noticed for endo is that there's one, a lack of awareness, and number 2, there's also a lack of a way for you to figure out if you have endo or not without having invasive surgeries being done. So after I saw my mom complain about her pain and how she has this very real pain that no one can really do anything about, I started noticing that a lot of other girls, people in my school, were also talking about their pain, talking about how their pain was really bad. So it made me start to wonder how much of our period pain goes hidden and is just considered to be normal pain. So then that's why I created EndoAware, with the hope that people can take the self-assessments in order to see if their period pain is actually endometriosis period pain or something that people just call normal pain.
Okay, interesting. So how does tell me a few things about the assessment. So how does it distinguish?
Yeah, so I had 16 questions in the assessment, and then the user goes through each of the questions, and all of the questions are endo-focused. So I had these 2 doctors who reviewed our self-assessment, and we've gone through 3 different versions. And the whole idea of it is that all of the questions are specific to people who have endometriosis, and then you answer them either yes, no, or you answer them you rate the numbers 1 to 5. And the idea is when you take the self-assessment, by the end of it, you get a PDF, which you can use to take action, go to the doctor, and talk about, here is the results of my self-assessment. I think I might have endo. What are the next steps?
Oh, okay, pretty good. So, who are you working with? Who is your support system for building this EndoAware?
Yeah, right now it's mostly my parents who are my support system, but obviously as any project needs, you have to reach out to other people.
Yes.
You cold email them and you hope to get maybe like 1 or 2 responses. So I was able to get 2 responses from 2 doctors, one of them from the University of California, San Francisco. And what she's helping with is just going over the self-assessment and checking if the questions are actually like scientifically accurate, or else if they're just like superstitions about endo. So she makes sure that the questions can accurately like tell if someone might have endo or not, so that people aren't just going to the doctors thinking that they have endo. And then that's what the other doctor also helped with. And I think that this is really important because if you're taking a self-assessment, there's so much media out there that you might be like misinformed also, and you might be kind of like scared if you have endo, if you don't have endo. So that's why it's important that these assessments are very accurate, or the questions that are being asked are accurate.
Okay, wonderful. So, is it like a website where people just go download the questions? And
It's like any of those other self-assessments, whether it be like for mental health, ADHD, any of those self-assessments, same
Sweet.
thing. And then at the end of it, you're gonna get a PDF, and then you can take that PDF to a doctor.
To
So
the
the idea
doctor.
is AAA, so it's awareness, action, and assessment. So we're trying to spread awareness on endo. So if you go onto endoaware.org, there's going to be a page talking about what endometriosis actually is, a picture of the uterus and how your endometrium, which is the lining of your uterus, is growing on the outside, and it talks about lesions and what endometriosis actually is. And then it gives you like a self-assessment so that you can assess yourself and see, is my period pain normal, maybe like pelvic pain or whatever pain that you have. And then you can take the assessment, and then it'll give you a score at the end, which you can take to the doctor.
Okay, wonderful. So the miracle baby is out to create miracles for others, huh? That's very nice to see. And I'm sure this is inspiring for other teenagers out there to, to have someone like you as a role model who is doing a lot more to the community, and the fact that you got inspired by your mother, seeing your mother in pain and suffering. Okay, so just one last question. How many people have downloaded this
So,
app or whatever?
Right now, we have around like 4,000 clicks onto the website,
Very nice.
but we have like around 241 self-assessments. So 241 people have actually taken the assessments, and then like 4,000 plus clicks onto our website.
Okay.
And the goal is just like even one person that we can help is, sorry?
Do you want to give the name of the website?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
I said endoaware.org.
Endoaware.
Dot
Yeah.
org.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even like if one person learns about it, that's a big deal. So that's our hope, that one person can tell another person, and then a lot of people know about endo. And there's a lot of more research being done, but not enough research. Like if this was a men's disease, it would have been 10 times the amount of research being done right now.
Of course.
So we're trying to also advocate for research being done on endometriosis, and one of the like most important part is differentiating it from just like why, like figuring out why endo is happening and why it's like an inflammatory disease rather than maybe just like an estrogen disease or any other diseases. So I think it's very important that we also do research on endometriosis.
Okay. Thank you, Arya.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm sure a lot more people will learn about endometriosis after seeing this podcast, and we will also show your website as well,
Thank
which is
you.
EndoAware, and let's hope the word reaches out
Yeah,
there.
hopefully.
Thank you, Sarika, and
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much for having
Arya,
us.
for
Thank you. Thank you for
gracing
having us.
our podcast today, the Wellness Circuit, and wish you all the best in life.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.